Alright, today we're doing a little bit of a different kind of ride. Today is essentially my maiden voyage on this e-bike. This is a GT Force amp, and I've actually had it for a little over a year now. However, I haven't really taken it to any trail systems. I've mainly just used it in my backyard for trail building. Over the winter, I changed a bunch of the parts on it, upgraded the suspension, and made this bike ready for the kind of riding I'm going to be doing. So I've been climbing for about 4 minutes, and I currently have the motor set to eco mode, which is the lowest you can set it. And according to my watch, my heart rate is at 154. I should say there are 3 different settings. So this is eco. I'm gonna put it into trail, which ramps up quite a bit. Like, I feel like I'm barely working right now compared to eco mode. And then there's one more mode, boost. Oh, here I'm just barely giving it any effort. Oh man, eco feels like I'm back to a regular bike. I should say there's actually one more setting. So if I get off the bike, press down, down once more, it goes into walk mode. So walk mode, I can essentially press down and hold, and this thing will start pushing itself uphill. All right, so this is my GT Force amp. It's got 150 mils of travel in the back. In the front, it comes with 150 as well. However, I've put an aftermarket fork on it, which is a Fox 38. So this guy is sitting at 160 mils of travel. And it is an e-bike specific fork. I talked to a lot of the guys at GT, and through Lost Bike Co, we talked to some of the Fox reps. There is a big difference between the e-tuned Fox 38 and the non-e-bike specific fork. The dampers are completely different, so there's a lot of things that are different. So what I'm trying to say is you can't take a regular Fox fork and put it on an e-bike. You need different damping, and there's a lot of different things that are different about the e-bike specific forks, which to me it was a learning process. So the complicated part was actually the rear shock. Every bike has different leverage ratios and they're set up differently. So the internals of almost every shock is custom tuned in the Fox factory for each bike. Well, since this bike doesn't come stocked with a Fox Flow X2, they didn't have a tune for this bike. So I actually had to work with the engineers over at GT and had to work with Lost Bike Co to get this thing set up for this bike. And I have to give a big shout out to the guys at Lost Bike Co for coming through and getting this set up with the specs that the GT guys had recommended. Now, on the topic of the motor, this, I believe, is the Shimano Steps EP8. Honestly, this whole world of e-bikes is totally new to me, so I'm not completely sure on the name, specs, and models. I do know that the battery on board this guy is about a 500 watt-hour battery, which is not the bigger battery. I think it's Shimano's either medium or small size battery. The bigger the battery, the heavier this thing's gonna weigh, so you gotta find some compromise until battery technology gets more dense and lighter. Now, if we take a look at the wheels, I have this bike equipped with Noble's TR41 wheels. So the TR41s are currently Noble's biggest and burliest wheel set they make. They're a little bit wider than the TR37s that I run on my normal bikes. These are more designed for either the downhill or e-bike specific application. And then for the hubs, I'm running Onyx's Silent hub. This is not the Vesper hub, which is kind of their lighter trail rated model. But for e-bike, since I have a little bit more torque, it makes sense to go with a heavier spec model. So something to take note of if you've never ridden an e-bike is when you pedal backwards, the chain does not move. So if you need to like lubricate your chain, what you can do, and this is a Wind Masters hack I saw, I'm not sure if he was the first, but you take your multi-tool and you put it in and then you pedal backwards. But otherwise, yeah, you can't do that. Anyway, let's carry on and see how we get along with this bike. Oh yeah, I remember this. Even with the EMTB, I want a break. So I think normally this would have taken me 40 minutes, and here it took me about 24 minutes to get up. So not bad, not bad. Anyway, let's see how this thing descends. So it will take me a little bit of getting used to, because just e-bikes have a much different feel compared to a regular bike. They are less nimble, less poppy, and I have a very poppy riding style, so does change my riding style quite a bit. You turn into more of a plow versus a billy goat or a jackrabbit. Okay, at speeds you can still get this thing off the ground. I don't know if it's necessarily the brakes or just the added weight, but I definitely did not slow down as quickly as I wanted to right back there. One of the interesting things I found, like when I was trying to set up this bike, is where do I put this mode select lever? Because it's not something that I see myself using every second. The dropper post, I'm constantly going up and down depending on the ride, but this thing right now, I basically leave it in one mode. Right now I have it set to eco. That turn is tight. I had to do a little jump and tuck. How's it going?
Good, how are you doing?
Not too bad. So this is my first ride on this e-bike. I've had it for a year, and just like I felt weird taking it out on trail. Something like, I haven't come to terms with e-bikes yet. How do you feel if you're climbing and someone comes up behind you, or a lot of people come up behind you with e-bikes and are constantly passing you? Would that frustrate you at some point?
So I was thinking about this the other day with some friends while biking, because we got passed on like a single track, like a narrow single track, by an e-biker.
Yeah.
And my dad has had an e-bike for like 4 years. This has been like a really good way for him to get out. He put like 4,000 miles on it, and it's really cool to see more people getting out there, especially like more people who like used to be into it.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about passing. I feel like we just need to develop a new etiquette.
I guess my thought, if I'm climbing on an e-bike and I'm on a single track, if I come up to someone, I'll usually like give them like a 50-foot buffer. Yeah. So I'm not like kind of like breathing down their neck. And when I see like there's an appropriate spot to kind of like gear up and pass, like that's what I'll usually do. I feel like that should also apply to e-bikes. I hope that becomes more of the etiquette. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Hey, more e-bikes need bells. That's what we need on e-bikes.
More cowbell. I like that. Have a good one, man.
Have a good ride.
My heart rate is still somewhat elevated. Whew. For what it's worth, we're still kind of, I haven't done anything really to the suspension, so I will need to make some adjustments to it down the road. So I will say, at this point, whew, I don't notice the weight as much as I thought I would. I feel like I notice the weight when I'm going slow and trying to do small poppy little jibs. Alright, I think this jump you can jump to the side. Oops, messed that one way up. Some of these jumps are a little bit on the small side. So I'm a little bit apprehensive about overshooting them, which I have done many times. Okay, manualing it is a little bit weird. Definitely have to put a little bit more body English into it than I have been giving it. Overall, I'm pleasantly surprised with how this felt. Really was expecting it to feel a little bit more cumbersome. Like, it's definitely not as snappy as my normal bike, but that's to be expected when you have another additional, I think, like 20 pounds or so. You know what? I'll be honest. I have not weighed this bike compared to my trail or enduro bike. I don't really think about weight all that much. To me, you build a bike as heavy as it needs to be able to withstand the riding that you're going to throw at it. Whatever the weight comes out to, that's fine with me. Now let's climb back to the top. Some of these punches are just demoralizing normally. And right now I'm just like on a casual Sunday stroll up there. It's going to be a weird adjustment coming back to my enduro bike. So climbing never was the reason why I got into this sport. As a BMXer growing up, I started racing downhill, then started doing trail riding, and I guess now you just call that enduro. But never got into enduro racing. Very much like taking a chairlift up to the top or climbing to the top and then enjoying the downhills. Could probably use a little bit more compression or air. My fork. So I think I put 75 pounds of pressure in the front. I think probably gonna want to go up to like 80. Conclusion, I'm pleasantly surprised by how lively this bike feels once you get up to speed. It just feels like an enduro bike, maybe a little bit heavier. I mean, I still have to dial this bike in terms of suspension and whatnot. I need a little bit more air pressure and whatnot, but that happens with any new bike basically. I'm also pretty impressed with how long this battery has lasted. I mean, I haven't really been hammering boost mode or anything. I just kept it in trail mode for the second part of the climb and eco mode the first part. That being said, I don't think this will fully replace my daily driver. I think I still like the poppiness of my sensor, which is my trail bike. But it is a nice tool to have in your arsenal. Anyway, this is where I'm going to leave off the video. If you haven't seen my building videos over on Phil's World, I'll leave a link to that in the description below. As always, my name is Phil Metz. Thanks for playing bikes with me today, and I will see you guys next time.